Welcome to the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. My name is Nina Doiron and I'm your host. If you're a real estate professional or investor, this is the podcast for you. I think you'll agree with me that a house is likely the largest financial asset for the majority of the population. And like any other product, it needs to be marketed in order to attract the right buyers so that it can sell faster and sell for more. So the objective of this podcast is really simple. It's to share with you the greatest marketing strategies and tactics in order to help you set your property apart from its competitors, and of course, ultimately to help you grow your real estate business. Hi, welcome back to the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. Thanks again for dropping in and joining us. So today, what I thought I would dedicate this podcast to are some staging mistakes to avoid when selling the house. And the reason why I wanted to focus in on this topic is because yesterday I was teaching my Staging to Sell What Every Agent Should Know class as a RESA approved instructor. And what I realized is that, the reason why people attend the class is because they want a lot of tips, not just staging tips, but they want tips on what to tell their clients, how to tell their clients, and how to communicate, ways to avoid mistakes when preparing to sell the house. And that's why so many of them are interested in attending class. And we had a really great class. Almost 50 people were there, and all were so engaged. So it was amazing. And so I thought that today we can talk about some staging mistakes to avoid. And this is actually coming from an article that I was invited to contribute to. So it's an article that Redfin recently published in October of 17. The article was written by Emily Huddleston from Redfin, and she invited a number of stagers across North America to contribute to this article, and I was one of the lucky ones. And what I was told was that, I forget how many now, I think there were a total of 36 tips that were given, and of that, I think like 25 of them were professional stagers who belong to the Real Estate Staging Association. So that tells you something, right? All of us belonging to the same association, and we were invited to participate in this article. So that was pretty exciting for me anyway. But so just so you know, although I do agree to all of the tips that I'm going to be sort of running through and, throughout the various contents and blogs, I myself have recommended these advice and tips as well. But as I go through the article, just recognize that they are all not mine. They are from some of my colleagues, just so that you know. Okay, so the first one, Amy Parker said that starting without a plan. So what that means is that, one of the biggest mistakes homeowners can make, she says, is that they're not working with a professional in order to create a plan of success when preparing the house for sale. And that I'm in absolute total agreement with, because without a plan, homeowners are so overwhelmed during the selling process that they have no idea what to do and what not to do. They have no idea what is going to get them the most bang for their buck. And so sometimes they're focusing on issues and items that is not going to get them the greatest return for their investment. And it's always a great idea to bring in a professional home stager to help them create that plan so that it's very methodical, so that they know exactly what they need to do in order to get their house to look great and show great when it hits the market. And of course, it helps you as their agent as well to have a property that's going to show super well. Number two, listing a home before it's ready. Oh my goodness, I could not agree with this more. Obviously, when selling a house, you know this better than I do, that there are many different factors that comes into play when into the success of selling the house. Obviously, there's location, there's price, but then there's also the condition of the house as well. We know this. The better the house shows, the better the condition the house, the better it's going to sell, because it's going to show really well and it's going to show better than the competition. But sometimes I've experienced with some agents where they're rushing to put the house on the market for whatever reason, because timing is really good and they want to hit the market before it gets really busy, or before it goes before the slow season and everybody is away. For whatever reason, they're rushing and they're not giving their clients enough time to get their house appropriately ready for the market. And I think that that's a huge mistake. I think it's better for them, and certainly better for you as you are the listing agent and representing them, that to represent their best interests, you should tell them and give them the opportunity and the time, even if you have to work out the timelines on your own with them, to help them achieve a state where the house is in a ready to show condition. But to rush it and list the home before it's ready, I think that can be detrimental to the success of that sale. And obviously it can impact your how they view the services that they've received from you as well. Number three, not taking professional photos. Oh my goodness. We've all seen online bad MLS photos. There are more bad MLS photos online than we can care to count for. In my class, I always tell my students this, that cell phones have come a long, long way. And if you have the latest iPhone, they tout that, the cameras are amazing, etc. But here's the thing, it will never, ever be better than professional photography. As well as much as the cell phone can do, it will never be as good. And so if you and your clients are investing in professional staging, then go that extra step and make sure that you have professional photography. And you know what? Some of my staging colleagues would probably be raising their eyebrows at me for this comment, but I always tell my clients this. If budget is a real issue, like a real issue that they cannot afford any level of staging service, and there are various levels of staging service that can meet all types of budget, but in the event that there is absolutely zero budget, which I think is far-fetched, I think it's better to make sure that your client's house is decluttered, cleaned well, and have professional photography. I know some of my colleagues are probably raising their eyebrows right now, but that's my opinion. I believe that professional photography is that important, because people shop for homes online first, and you want to make sure that those photos with appropriate lighting is gonna make that house shine, as opposed to dark, old photograph spaces where they're not taking into consideration the room perspective, the viewer's perspective, and things like that. So go ahead and make sure that you invest in professional photography. And you know what? If some of the homeowners happen to find my podcast and is listening to my podcast now, if any of your agents are actually not using a professional photographer, then I recommend that you look for a different agent. Honestly, I think it's that important. Number 4, this one is coming from Dominique Calhoun, and she says that her tip is neglecting simple improvements. So true. There are some really simple, inexpensive improvements that homeowners can do that will make a huge difference in how their house is going to look and how their house is going to show. Things as simple as changing out the light bulbs in the house. You know, if things are off the hinges or seems askew, it might be as simple as taking out a screwdriver and readjusting some of those things. You know, the door hinges, or when the patio door doesn't seem to slide as smoothly. It can be a very, very simple adjustment. So don't neglect any of those home improvements that can be easily done either by the homeowner themselves if they have the ability, or bringing in a handyman for half a day to do. And if the agent the agent is handy, then I'm sure that those simple fixes can be done very, very quickly and inexpensively as well. Number 5, making major renovations. This is coming from Catherine Helenak, I think that's how it's spelled. She's saying that while making simple home improvements will provide great return, all-out renovations with poor plan changes and high-end finish will likely not be a wise investment. So I agree with that too. So if you don't know what you're doing and you invest in making total renovation and not knowing what you're doing, then you are actually potentially making more harm than good. So this is where you bring in a stager designer to help you create that plan, that renovation plan, so that you are doing the right thing. So a good example is, sometimes people will say, people know that the kitchen's the heart of the home, it has the greatest return for investment, all agreeable. However, so they think that simply by changing out the cabinet or painting out the cabinet and changing out the countertop, that makes for a great update. However, if you are willing to invest in that type of update, but then fail to ignore the floor plan and the space, then that could be a mistake, right? Because if you have a small kitchen space and you're just updating all the trimmings, but not opening up the space and look at the opportunity to create a bigger kitchen, which is what everybody wants, because that's where everybody entertains and everybody kind of congregate around the kitchen, then that's poor planning, right? So if you have the budget to do the full-on renovation, make sure you bring in a professional designer and stager so that they can guide you on what to do in order to get the most out of that renovation. So that's a very, very good tip. Number 6, not removing or replacing dated decor. Absolutely. Things like, oh my goodness. I always say that I would say, I think 5 things that really date a house is lighting, drapery, hardware, flooring, and paint. Those 5 things, if you've had them for 15, 20 years or more, then they can really, really date a home. Paint color, paint color changes every single year. And with paint, when it ages, it starts to yellow, right? A little bit more, and it gets to be a little bit more dingy. Drapery, we know the style of the 80s and the 90s, and today they're very simple, right? And so those things, if again, changing out some of those things can be very easily done and rather inexpensive these days. I would recommend that you have your clients look at all of those things because they are simple and they can completely give the home a total facelift. All right, so hanging pictures too high or too low, absolutely. You know, this is a mistake that many people make, hanging a picture that's far too high, because you know they think that maybe hanging a picture really high can add height to the space, but in fact it doesn't do that. It's very odd. There are guides on my website and in my blog on how to best hang pictures. So if you are unfamiliar about that, then make sure you check my website at istageandorganize.com. And in one of my blogs, one of my many blogs, I provide you with some guidance on how to do that. But you can also reach out to me too, and I'm happy to share that blog if you have a hard time to find it. But the ideal height is 60 inches from the center of the picture to the floor. You know, usually people say it's at eye level, like the gallery level, but we're all, you know, created, not all created equally, right? I'm kind of short. And so my eye level is different from somebody who is 6 foot tall or 6 foot and 2 inches tall, right? So, but the general guideline is about 60 inches from the center of the piece of artwork to the floor. Another tip, this is from Trish Kim, using non-neutral colors. So she's saying that not neutralizing the color palette in a home will cause buyer to hesitate to commit to a purchase. Today, buying demographics does not want to make any changes after moving. So, you know, obviously, you know this, right? Stagers always say, go gray, 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 neutral, neutral, neutral. And there's a reason why we say that. It's because we want to provide the potential buyers with a blank canvas. You know, everybody have different tastes. People have different tastes. Some like really bold color choices, other like neutral. But when selling a house, remind your clients that it's about appealing to the mass. The more people that we can appeal to, the higher the chances and opportunities that we would be able to sell it more successfully. So by providing them with a blank canvas, it'll help to better showcase and show off the space as opposed to attracting certain flaws for the client, for the potential buyer as well. Number 9, assuming cleaning is the same as staging. Oh my goodness, cleaning is not staging at all. Definitely not. However, it is absolutely necessary. A clean house and a clean smelling house is so important because when you're selling anything, not just a house, you're trying to hit all the senses of the buyer, right? From the moment that they step through the front door, you want to appeal to all these senses. You want to make sure that they can smell and feel that house is spotlessly clean, sparkling clean, because then they know that the house is, I don't know what that was spelled. They know that the house has been well maintained. It gives off that impression, right? So cleaning is a must, and really cleaning means everywhere. Just remember that everybody has a different perception of how clean is clean, and you will know this when you visit your client's home if clean is truly clean. So sometimes I recommend that it's better to bring in a professional cleaner than letting your client clean on their own, okay? Number 10 is not giving your home a lived-in feel. So this one is from Julie Rudlin. Let's see what she has to say. Having a polished and clean look is important. However, giving the space that lived-in look is critical as well. karate chop pillow throws, toss the throw, and hang a brim hat on the entry hook gives that desired organic feel buyers crave. Okay, so I do agree to this. However, sometimes when the house looks too staged, it's not good either. So I agree with that as well. You know, you've seen it when you get that tray with some champagne or coffee cup on the bed. That's not how people live. Okay, that's not how people live every day. Or that dining room that is completely set up with placement settings, right? Like with plates and glasses, wine glasses, and cutlery and things like that. That's not how people have their dining room set every day. I think that is completely overstaged, and it's no longer in trend for sure. How people normally live is perhaps they have a simple centerpiece in the center of their dining room table, and that is more organic, and so consider that for sure. Number 11 is knowing your target audience. Oh my goodness, for sure, for sure, for sure. So in my class, when I teach, obviously the reason why these agents attend my class is because they are interested in trying to stage on their own. And I recognize, I get it, like most people will have to start somewhere, right? And when you start somewhere, you typically start with your own furniture from your own home. And that is not necessarily a good thing, because if you are not targeting the right audience, and considering the target audience, considering the architecture of the house, then your furniture might not work for that space, right? So understanding a good quality professional home stager will understand this and bring in furniture and accessories that is ideal to the target audience for the location that the property is in. So this is something that is very, very important and very key. So don't forget to understand your audience, because this is how it's going to impact how you market and merchandise the home too, right? Number 12, pushing the furniture against the wall. This is a design mistake for sure. Don't feel that every piece of the furniture needs to be up against a wall. When you do that, the room can feel very awkward. It's okay for furniture to be floating in a room. And so, take a look at the space, take a look at the scale of the furniture, and if you're stuck, make sure that you speak with your professional stager, or feel free to reach out to me anytime. Forgetting about storage spaces. I think that when selling or when potential buyers buy a house, storage is key. Everybody needs storage, especially young families. And so when you tell your clients that it's okay to shove everything, to declutter and then shove everything into cabinets and cupboard spaces and closets, that is not okay. It's okay to store things in there, but make sure that they're all neat and tidy. Because if you overstuff any of those places, then the impression that it's giving to potential buyers is that there's a lack of storage space in the house. So make sure that gets addressed. And if the client has too much stuff, the option is always to rent out a storage space off-site. That might be a better option. Marta Berlinska is saying, going to textbook. Let's see what she has to say here. Often we find stagers using indistinguishable furniture and accessories on every listing, a practice we know to be ineffective. The cookie cutter approach does not attract potential buyers. Oh yes, totally, completely agree. So this is going back to, I would say, not knowing your target audience. Not every space is the same, not every house is the same, not every neighborhood is the same. And so you can't use a cookie cutter approach. And so this is where working with a qualified and quality stager is very important, because they will know what to do in order to make sure that the house appeals to your target audience, by placing the right pieces of furniture and accessories, and providing advice on the right types of updates and colors to the house in order to target the audience. Not every house is the same. Number 15, creating a space buyers can visualize themselves in. Absolutely. This one is from Lucila Diaz. She's saying that when staging a home, you have to make sure that you create a space potential buyers can visualize themselves in. Don't leave too many personal photographs and specific items that are religious or age specific. This is true. I think that you all know this, right? Depersonalize. Sometimes I will stage with a picture of a pet, or non-descriptive family photos, meaning like, it's a little blurred out and the focus is on the background, or an object, or a family sitting by the lake or on the front porch with their back, or something like that. It's non-descriptive, but it gives people that personalized feel to the home. But you don't want to have too many of your own personal items in the home where people can't visualize themselves in the home, because all they see is you there, okay? Or your client there, rather. Decorating with bold statements. Like using bold colors, or very bold and eclectic furniture and accessories. This is, in your own home, people use color and furniture and accessories to personalize their own home, and it speaks volume about who they are and their character, right? But when selling the house, you need to appeal to the potential buyer. So it's not about your client, it's not about your selling client, and it's very important that you remind them of this. And so making bold statement can be detrimental to the success of that sale. So it's always better to be more neutral, so that you can appeal to a greater number of potential buyers. Number 17, underestimating the importance of curb appeal. This cannot be truer. So again, in my class, I teach agents this. There are two things that I tell agents about curb appeal. One, it speaks volumes on what potential buyers' impressions would be for the inside of the home, because rarely does the outside not match the inside. So if the outside is a mess, people are going to think that inside is a mess, because there is no way when the outside is a mess and the inside is spectacular. Number two, the curb appeal also speaks volumes to your brand, right? As the representative of that property, your signage is on the lawn. And if it doesn't look like it shows well, then it speaks about you and your brand as a representing agent. So if you, by putting up signage on the front lawn, you are hoping to appeal and attract potential clients for listings or buying. But if your brand looks like it's one that doesn't take care of the property it represents, then it's going to turn off any potential clients. So I think that curb appeal plays a very, very important role, not just to the house, but to your own brand as well. Using furniture that isn't the right size. Oh my goodness. Yes, actually several people, of my colleagues recommended this or offered this tip. Absolutely, furniture plays a very important role in how the space look and how the the size of the space look. When you use furniture that is too big, overstuffed furniture, then it can overwhelm a space and make the space feel tight and small. And when you use furniture that is too small in a very large space, then it gives the potential buyers a sense that something is just not right, even though they can't pinpoint it. So using the right scaled furniture is very important. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know what the right scale pieces of furniture is, or if your client don't know, then it's very important to bring in a professional stager to help you figure that out. Forgetting to check under the bed. Oh, that's another storage, I guess, tip. A lot of people store stuff under the bed, and if it's again overstuffed, sometimes it actually shows on the photography. So make sure that it's best to clear it out and put it in other spaces, or make sure you look at the photos and ensure that all of those things are not going to show through. But it's best to take all those items out of under the bed and store it elsewhere for sure. Displaying polarizing items. This one is from Catherine Mon. She says that when you decide to sell your home, it's no longer yours and should be staged to attract as many potential buyers as possible. Paint your purple walls are nice neutral, remove your taxidermy animals, and hide your grandmother's ashes somewhere so that no one can find them. Absolutely, this speaks to depersonalizing again, right? And again, the focus is about the buyer. Always focusing on the buyer will help with your client to remove themselves out of the equation. And sometimes clients just don't understand that, but if you nail it into them and give some examples, right? The largest consumer product manufacturers always focus on the buyer, right? What do they like? Where do they go? Who are their friends? What are the things that that interest them, so that they can create marketing campaigns that focuses on their needs, the customer's need. So that is no different than when you're selling a house. You have to focus on the customer, the potential buyers. Using air freshener and candles. Okay, so people ask me this quite a bit. This one is coming from Ashley and Rosalind, and they're saying that you definitely not to overwhelm that sense as well with artificial scents. First of all, some people have chemical sensitivity, so you don't want to have too much artificial scents in the house. If some scents are required, I would go with a mild scent like fresh linen or fresh outdoor scent, something like that, but keep it to a minimum. And sometimes a diffuser can dilute some of that scent. That will be easier on the senses when buyers come in to see the house, but don't overwhelm it for sure. Thinking that staging isn't worth it. As a professional stager myself, and knowing very well that staging is a marketing tactic that works, I couldn't agree more with Lisa Vassie here. Staging is definitely one of the most effective investment when it comes to preparing the house to sell and to show well. In fact, she reminds us here that statistics shows that an investment of 3% of the listing price can help to increase the sale price by 8 to 10%, and usually in less time as well. So if, again, I have lots of blogs and statistics on my website that shares this kind of information, and if you need some information to share with your clients, make sure that you reach out to me or your own local stager as well. Another colleague of mine, Leah Jones, recommended not cleaning and decluttering. Definitely, we talked about cleaning earlier, but declutter. Some of my students yesterday asked me what would be the number one thing that that I recommend homeowners do, and I tell them it's to first declutter. The number one thing, declutter. I have rarely ever seen any home where I visited where decluttering wasn't required. In fact, when I sold my own home and my home, if you walk into my home, you would think that it's not cluttered at all. I don't have a lot of stuff, but even when I sold my own home, I decluttered because where I found stuff was in our storage space, in our closets. So I decluttered all of those spaces so that potential buyers could see that there's ample storage space, right? Even though the rest of my home was very uncluttered. So every home can withstand decluttering. So that would be by far the first thing that I would recommend everyone do. Ignoring, oh, this one is for me, number 24, ignoring the competition. So if your client says, oh, I don't care what the competition does, my house is great, my lot is great, I only care about my property, I don't care about what other people are doing, that is a really, really, how do I say this, poor perception on what they need to do. Because no matter what products are out there in the market, it could be bread, it could be something as simple as ream of papers to a house. We all have competition. And if we ignore the competition, we will fail, right? We have to understand what the competition is doing so that we can do a better job at it in order to do better than them and outrace them, right? And so make sure that you show your clients, your listing clients, other competitive listings out there. Show them competitive listings that are like theirs so that when they see it, ask them how they feel about that house when they walk in. And if they didn't feel good about that house, then remind them again that that's the impression that their house is giving off. And if the house shows really well, then remind them that this is what buyers are looking for, right? So that in order to get them on board and get them to prepare the house better. So that one was for me. Number 25 is forgetting that less and more. Absolutely. This one speaks again to decluttering and even design and staging. It's not about throwing a whole bunch of stuff into the house and into the room. It's about, less is more, adding furniture and accessories in order to accentuate the space and add visual impact, but it's not to take away from the space itself, the room itself. Number 6 is not staging the master bedroom. Oh yes, so we always recommend, where budget is an issue, we recommend staging the main floor of the property because that is going to have the most impact, right? That's where people hang out the most. That's where family entertain families and friends and whatnot, as well as the master suite. Why the master suite? This room is the sanctuary for homeowners, to get away, to relax. And so we want to make this space appeal to the people who are going to make that purchasing decision for the house. And so if we can showcase to them that there's ample space for them to get away, to relax, to read, just to breathe and get away from maybe even young children, it can really appeal to their own senses of, yes, this house is for me. Number 27, staging with random furniture. Oh, please don't do that. If things don't make sense, you can't just throw them together because then it won't make sense to buyers to when they walk in. Remember what I said earlier, sometimes potential buyers walk into a room and they have that gut feeling that something is not right, but they can't pinpoint it, but they know they don't like it. That's what it's like with throwing random things into a room. We want things to make sense. We want the potential buyers to walk into a room and say, yes, I get it. I see the purpose of this room. I see how it works. I can see how my own furniture is going to fit in this space. We don't want them to walk away with any negative feelings or negative energy. Forgetting about lighting. This one is from Ines Cortez. Forgetting about lighting. Oh my goodness. Lighting is very, 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 very important. One of the things that I often tell my clients, if they can't afford to change out the lighting fixture, is at minimum to change out the light bulbs. So many houses I walk in and I see them using that coiled fluorescent bulbs. Those coiled fluorescent bulbs are awful because they when you turn them on, they start off dim and it takes them a while to get to its full brightness. And they're very harsh lighting. So what I recommend is it's best to change it out to the LED bulbs, to white daylight LED bulbs with the color temperature of like 3500K or something like that, because then it'll make the house feel light and bright, especially in this time, during this time of year where we're approaching the winter months and there's less daylight. The more natural lighting you can bring into the home, the better it's going to make the space feel brighter and brighter and more spacious, actually. Number 29 is overdoing it. This is from Ola. Ola says that staging a house is a psychological game and you want to elicit buyers' positive emotions. Can't agree more. Putting too much color and drama or too many decorative elements might actually create undesired emotions. That is so true. Very, very true. So again, this speaks to less is more, right? Doing less, not always worrying about adding so much stuff. Some buyers, some of my clients actually say, don't you think we need something else on this wall? This wall seems a little empty. It's okay to have white spaces. It's okay to have empty spaces. We don't have to fill every wall with artwork and sculpture and things like that, because stick to the rule of thumb that less is more, okay? Not painting. Yes, so painting is one of the most inexpensive ways to give the house a fresh, updated look. And so if your clients, listing clients, have painted their house in the last 20 years, it's time to paint. And paint is inexpensive. And you know what? Sometimes when you work with your professional stager, they get great deals from paint suppliers as well. So don't chip out on that, because it's a very important factor. And you know what? Most homeowners are willing to do at least the paint. So make sure that you have that discussion with them if you think that the paint is too dark and too dated. Number 31 is from Stephanie Katz, and she says that only staging or updating a few areas of the home. So obviously, because if budget is an issue, then we always recommend stage the main living spaces plus the master suite. However, I go one step further. If there's a room that is too small, and buyers have the potential of not being able to visualize the purpose of that room, then I always stage the smallest room as well. Let's say if you list the house as a 4-bedroom house and the smallest bedroom is so small, people have a hard time seeing it. I would stage it as a bedroom with a single bed, or put a crib in there and set it up as a nursery, so that people can see that it is big enough to be a bedroom. Because sometimes without furniture in those small spaces, people can't see that it's a bedroom. People might actually think, oh, this is like more of an office or a closet, really. There's no way I can put a bed in there. So don't give them that impression, especially if you're listing it as a 4-bedroom. We're getting to the end. Too little or too much color. Again, going back to paint and color choices. I always recommend this. Keep the rooms neutral to a neutral color. You can add pops of color and interest through accessories. That's with floral or artwork or even rug, but keep the rest of the house neutral. Cheapening with decor, meaning using furniture and accessories that are cheap looking. It will cheapen the look of the house and gives off the impression that the house should be cheaper. So it could actually affect your price. And this one came from Viveka and Johanna at recommended this and provided this tip. I think it's a good one. Number 34, using props that say this house is staged. Again, so this is going back to what I said earlier, like trays on bed, place settings on tables, and decor. So this is over staging, right? This doesn't give the impression that the house is lived in, and it definitely isn't on trend anymore. So don't make that mistake of overstaging. Using area rugs are too small. Yes, that is true. So area rugs are used to anchor a space, and it adds interest and warmth as well. But when you use a small rug in a small space, in a large space that is, it actually makes a room feel smaller, right? Or when you use an oversized rug in a really small space, then it adds visual weight to the space, and it too can make the space feel smaller. So make sure that, when we talk about appropriately scaled furniture and artwork, we need to make sure that the client has appropriately scaled rugs too, if they're using rugs. And the last is from Denise Hart, and she says that art that's way too specific. So this reminds me, I worked on a house once where it was actually a beautiful house, beautiful maintained, and really well decorated, and with some really great artwork. But in the master bedroom, over the bed, the homeowner had a huge nude photo on top of the bed. While it's a lovely piece, it definitely was too specific and too neutral. Remember, when people go in to see, to view a house, to visit a house, they're bringing families, they're bringing young ones, right? They're bringing children. And so it's best to avoid things like that and keep it to neutral, keep it to neutral artwork with landscapes or abstract artwork and things like that is best, because then you're not going to be offending anybody, right? And like avoiding religious photos and things like that. It's just best to stay neutral, okay? So that pretty much is what I wanted to share with you from a marketing perspective. Having the home show really well is going to have significant impact on how well the house is going to sell and how quickly the house is going to sell. And when I teach my class, Staging to Sell, what every agent should know, they are always asking for tips. And so when this article hit and I was asked to contribute to it, I thought, what a better way for me to share not just my own tip, but tip from professional home stagers for North America as well, to help you and your clients achieve that beautifully shown home. So thank you again for tuning in to this latest episode of the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. I hope you'll join me again at the next episode. And with the next episode, I'm going to be having a really special guest join me. So join me then, okay? Until then, take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now. Thank you for listening to this latest episode of the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. If you like this episode and the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and of course share. If you have a tactic that works well and would like to be a guest on our show, reach out to me via email. My email is in the description. If you would like to learn more about real estate marketing and staging, visit my website, also in the description, to find out when the next Staging to Sell What Every Agent Should Know class is scheduled for. Marketing doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it's quite simple, so long as you make it all about the buyers. So until next time, take care.